was headed home from work after a long day at work, and then the unthinkable happened. The unthinkable happened. I was hit by another car. Ava was in the back seat. This is how one car accident changed my life in ways I could never have imagined. After the car accident, my dad told me to go home and get some rest. And then the next day, he wanted me to go to the ER to get myself and Ava examined because she was in the car also. When I arrived to the ER, it was early in the morning. I made sure I ate, we were showered, ready to go to the hospital. When we were at the hospital, it takes a long time at the hospital. They ran a numerous amount of tests on me and Ava. They checked us out. They asked us so many questions because the thing that brought us into the hospital was a motor vehicle accident. So they had a ton of questions for the both of us. For me, because I did complain of having headaches, they gave me a CT scan, ran my blood, checked my vitals, and all of that. Upon them doing the CT scan, they found a very large mass in my brain. And I remember when the nurse in the ER came back and told me, he was so apologetic, and he was like, Letitia, I am very sorry, but there is a mass in your brain. We are not sure what it is. We have contacted the on-call neurosurgeon for the ER, and he wants to send you down to an MRI. And when I do the MRIs, this is how it looks. They put the gate over my head, and they want to make sure that my head is not moving and is very secure. This was the first time I had ever had an MRI. And I've always heard about them, but I never myself needed an MRI. So then after I did the MRI, the neurosurgeon interprets the results of the brain scan. My MRIs are about 45 minutes long. And the last 15 minutes, they do contrast through the IV so that they can see, all the areas of my brain. I want you guys to keep in mind that this was a long period of time. I had been in the hospital all day, and the hospital staff, the ER staff, they actually wanted someone to come pick Ava up because they knew I was going to be there for a long time. I feel like they knew something was not right, and me just coming in there for a car accident, I had no idea. So following an entire day of testing and an MRI, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor and quickly admitted to the hospital with brain surgery planned for the next day. Hours before, the neurosurgeon used a marker to indicate my head. So everything was just moving so fast. The neurosurgeon came in and spoke with me, let me know what was going on, and said that we had to do brain surgery the next day, and that it was an emergency. I was admitted to the hospital. I had to beg for my last meal, you guys. I had been there all day, and I'm like, look, let me eat, please. One of the things that you have to do when you have surgery is you have to sign a lot of paperwork. So here I am with brain surgery scheduled for the next day. I'm signing power of attorney. And at the time of this, I was 27 years old. So I did not have a will, of course. And so it all happened so quick. I'm signing major documents. But here's the timeline. December 11th was the car accident. December 12th, we have the brain tumor diagnosis. And December 13th, we have emergency brain surgery. As I am being rolled down to the operating room, I am just thinking, oh my goodness, it is now Sunday. On Friday, I left work, went to pick up my daughter, and was on my way home. And I just cannot believe that all this is going on. It was like I was being carried by God. I was in shock. And so the operating room is very, very bright. They wheeled me down the hallway, and then there's like a waiting room, right? And in that waiting room, I'm signing more documents. I'm just in shock. Because my tumor was on the right side towards the back, they used the park bench positioning. It's a surgical stance used in neurosurgery, where the patient leans forward, mimicking someone sitting on a park bench. And I was just very, very nervous. I just remember being wheeled into the operating room. The doctor introduced himself, and he introduced his team. And one thing I will say is I was in shock that they were able to get the room situated and everything set up so fast on the last minute notice. But I am so thankful to the doctor that was on call for neurosurgery. He really saved my life. They hopped right in to help me, and they answered as many questions as possible. I didn't even know what questions to ask, so I didn't even really know what was going on. And it was a very long operation. And one of the things I remember them saying is that after you have brain surgery, you go into the ICU because your brain is going to swell. And what they put in was a brain drain. So that, well, I called it a brain drain. I don't know if that's a medical term. It's so that the CSF fluid can drain out, and so that your brain doesn't swell too much. So this helps regulate the pressure in your brain so that you can heal properly, because immediately after brain surgery, your brain swells. So this is me in the ICU about 2 days after the brain surgery. One thing that happens a lot when you are getting brain surgery, or when you have brain surgery, you have to do a lot of MRIs, because they have to see what is going on after the surgery, before the surgery, a couple days later. So I had a lot of MRIs, and for someone that has never had an MRI in her life, it was a lot. It was a lot. So I am now out of the ICU. They have taken out the drain. I'm still not able to walk. So after brain surgery, I had to learn how to walk again. I had a lot to learn a lot. So December 23rd was my second emergency brain surgery due to acute hydrocephalus, which is another thing I had never heard of in my life. So what hydrocephalus is a buildup of CSF fluid in the brain, and can be present at birth or happen later. It is one of the most common birth defects. Hydro means water, cephalus means head. So this condition is known as fluid on the brain. But in my situation, I had acute hydrocephalus, which is a rapid buildup of CSF fluid in the brain's ventricles. causing into increased pressure. And what ended up happening is that when the CMA came in to check my vitals, I was unconscious. So she paged the doctor. The doctor came running, and I was unconscious. So this is what I've been told, from my people. The doctor came running. They took me down and they put an emergency drain in my brain so that they could reduce some of the pressure. Then I underwent my second surgery to place a VP shunt to relieve the pressure in my brain. It was so weird for me because I felt like this. I woke up, the doctor was talking. He was like, Letitia, you passed out. We're going to take you down to surgery. I felt like I went back to sleep. I woke back up. I was in the operating room. The doctor is standing over me and he's like, hey, we have a stomach doctor here to help with the stomach portion of the VP shunt. And then he introduced the team. I feel like I went back to sleep, woke up, and I was back in my room. My sister told me it was about 3 days. So this is what a VP shunt is. And shunt surgery is a surgical procedure that involves insertion of a drainage system into the brain that will remove excess fluid from the brain to another part of the body. So my shunt starts in my brain, and what it does is it regulates the pressures in my brain. The excess fluid comes out in my urine, but I don't notice it at all. So after that additional surgery, like I said, every step of the way they're doing MRIs because they need to know what's going on with my brain. So I had another MRI after the VP shunt was placed. I spent about 3 weeks in the hospital. At this time, after my surgery, I couldn't walk. It looked like I had a stroke. I ended up cutting all of my hair off after my 2 brain surgeries because at the time, I had singles, and it was just easier to cut it off so I can clean my hair. So I was completely bald headed, but I was happy because I made it, y'all. So December 29th, I was discharged from the hospital and sent to a rehab facility. This is not the type of rehab that you go to for drugs. This is the type of rehab that you go to after you have a life-changing surgery. And now I needed to learn how to live post-surgery. In rehab, one of the things that they really helped me on was learning how to walk again. It was weird. It was like I was a baby again. It was like my muscle memory, the slate was completely wiped clean. So we did walking exercises. They would use this thing called a gait belt. And we did all type of little obstacles. I did board games, puzzles. I spent about a week in the rehab facility. They also had a kitchen at rehab because rehab teaches you how to get back into real life. So they took me in the kitchen. I made an omelet. They saw my knife skills and they said, you got some experience. So, January 7th, 2021, I was discharged from rehab. During my surgery, during this whole phase, it was post-COVID. No visitors. Everyone had a mask on. I was so afraid. But I was able to see my baby again. And I just remember, because I'm bald now. I took my hat off because it's winter. And my nephew was like, what happened to your hair? I was like, it's a whole lot. So, after I got out of rehab in the hospital, I did outpatient therapy, which included physical, speech, and occupational therapy. There would be some weeks when I would have 5 to 10 appointments. It was so hectic. But after about 6 months, I completed therapy. And I just want to say, glory be to God, because He led me to the hospital and He carried me through that process. And here I am. But after the surgery, your girl went to Hawaii. So that is us in Hawaii on the beach. And y'all see, I was rocking my short hair. Okay, I was froed up. And then I went back to school 8 months after my brain surgery to become a CMA because I was inspired. At the time, I was able to enroll Ava in a really awesome preschool program. So we always made this like little joke, like we're going back to school together. And in that program, they actually did gymnastics for 1 hour a day. Then I had a Chromebook from school and I started a YouTube channel, which is Ava's Playtime. Making kids content. Ava always wanted a YouTube channel. Her friend started it for her, and then I took over. And then I created 907 Good Eats because I absolutely love to cook. And even though I don't work in the kitchen, I still wanted to cook. So I started Ava's Playtime, 907 Good Eats, and I've had those channels for about 2 years now, and it's going great. And another thing that I discovered when I started making content is I love taking videos and pictures. So Ava will always have these memories of us and her mom. So we love making content. We went around Alaska for 2 years shooting hundreds and hundreds of videos. In 2 years, we have put over 1,000 videos on YouTube. And I'm going to continue to make content. We're going to continue to make content because we love it. And we love talking to all y'all. And every video that we've made is a different concept. So we did not know we were going to be content creators. But here we are, and we're content creators now. And we absolutely love it. And we enjoy making content. So on Ava's Playtime, we do a numerous amount of things. It is playtime. So literally everything you can think of. Whether that's making drinks in the park, gymnastics, sledding, all type of stuff. Never give up. Always put your trust in God. And just take it one day at a time. And stay prayed up. But that is it for this video. Like, subscribe, share, and join the channel. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. And if we get enough comments, we can do a live Q&A session on this video. And also, check out these videos down below. Make sure you turn that bell on. You don't know how I always end the show. Footy gang gang gang. Footy gang gang gang.